Good morning, legends. How's it going? I hope you're having a really good day. I know I am, because today is really exciting for me because it marks the first day of getting into a really cool project that I've been wanting to get started on for a super long time. So I'm gonna be heading over to the shed very soon to get started on this project, and I hope I can take you along for the journey. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so here we are in my grandpa's shed, and today the brand plan, if you haven't already read the title, it is to make a cable cam by ourselves on our own without really spending any money. So the reason why I want to build a cable cam is for years I've been watching videos that have this insane amount of production value with these really, high quality shots of shooting through the bush and going through trees in really like impossible angles that you can't get with any other shot. And I've always really wanted to recreate that in my own unique sort of way around town so that I can actually get a shot of myself with the cable cam. And it all sort of dates back to videos like The Collective and like the original videos from BC, where you had these teams of videographers making cable cams. So the reason why I've come here is because I saw a really helpful video from a guy called Scott Bell, and he did a video with Mark Matthews at his local track, and I thought that, gee, that's a really good design. I'll link the video below. It's an extremely good video, go watch that. But here's the design I'm going for. Should be on screen now. So basically the grand idea is to attach my camera to a gimbal, and that will allow for the shot to be able to be really smooth, really buttery, and it also allows me to move the shot around in any direction I want without actually touching the camera. And then that gimbal will be attached to a base plate, which will then be attached to a suspension system. So the reason why we need a suspension system is because without that, we'd be getting these tiny little micro vibrations that would stop the shot from looking really smooth and buttery. And then from that suspension system, it's going to be connecting to a nice long piece of wood, which has a set of pulleys on it. And those pulleys will be attaching to the rope, which will then be allowed to slide freely up, back and forth along a track so that we can get those shots that just shoot through the bush and just look so cool. Grandpa's trade is carpentry and joinery, so instead of using all the metal parts that Scott's been using, we're going to be using a lot of wood. So Grandpa has all these tools in the shed that work well for wood, so he's got like drill presses and drills and chisels and all this stuff. So we're going to be playing to our strengths, and we're going to be making this thing out of stuff that we've already got lying around in the shed, so we don't have to spend any extra money. So the first step is going to be making the pulleys work exactly how we want them. So there's going to be the problem of having to take the, what should we call it? The trolley, let's call it the trolley. There's going to be the issue of having to take the trolley off the line, or the cable in this sense. So if we want to take it off for every different shot, it's going to be a pain having to thread the line through. And I know that it's going to be an absolute mission trying to get this line set up across. So it'd be a pain to have to take that down every time. What we're going to try and do is punch the center out of these pulleys so that we can, instead of taking the rope through the pulley, we can take the axle out of the pulley, thread the rope through, and then drop the axle back on top again. That makes it just so much easier for us. Then once we've done that, we're going to attach the pulleys to this nice piece of wood. Now we're gonna do this by inserting holes into the piece of wood, which we're gonna drop the pulley into and put a bolt through so that it stays nice and firm.
That fits in the slot real tight, and then we put a bolt right through there.
Okay, yep. And that's all the way up this end up here.
There and there.
Yep. then after we've attached the pulleys to it, we're gonna start working on our suspension system. So our suspension system is gonna consist of these 6 fairly solid rubber tubes. Grandpa said they've been sitting in the shed for 20 years and he's had no use for them, so it's good to be putting these to a use one day. So these nice pieces of rubber Grandpa's had kicking around in the shed are gonna work really well for our suspension system. And the way that's gonna work is we're gonna be inserting these into 2 separate blocks of wood. Those blocks of wood are gonna be fastening these with screws, so that when they're fastened into these holes, they bounce up and down and make this really nice, smooth effect on our shot, so that instead of having these jittery bumps, we're gonna have a nice buttery smooth shot. So once we've connected these 2, then we have to start working on our very bottom piece, which is going to be attaching the gimbal to a piece of wood. Now the gimbal that I have has a 1/4 inch screw in the bottom of it, and that will be our attachment point. So we can have a 1/4 inch screw coming down through the last piece of wood, and then from that we can then screw our gimbal onto it, which we can hang the gimbal with the camera on it, and we should be good to go. I can crank it up as tight as I want. Yes, and that's not going anywhere. Now, one part I'm a little bit skeptical about is the pulleys. Now, I'll grab the pulleys. Here's one of the pulleys right now. It's great, it does the job. It's not ball bearings, it's not crazy fancy, but that's the thing. I don't want it to be running at the speed of light down this, otherwise we won't be able to match our shot to our riders. So the issue is that once this is detached, so we have to press through this axle so that we're able to remove this piece. Once that's moved out, I'm skeptical that it's not gonna run as smoothly as possible. So what we've done to avoid that is we've made sure that our screw, when it goes through, is spaced a little bit so that it doesn't have any friction on these side parts of our pulley. So when we have it going down the line, hopefully, fingers crossed, we're gonna have a nice, smooth motion that we can make it go as quick as we want. Make sure you keep in mind that this isn't actually my idea. There's been thousands of cable cams built before, and the particular design I'm making is almost a 1-for-1 copy of Scott Bell Visuals on YouTube. I actually had a DM with him and he seems like a really cool bloke, so make sure you go check out his video as well. It's a little bit more professional than mine and I think it's gonna tell you how to do it just fine. All right, so we've pretty much put the whole thing together now, and it's really cool to see this all come together. So the top here, we've got 2 pulleys, and these are the 2 pulleys that are going to attach to our cable so that it can run down a hill fast and smoothly. Then we've got another piece of wood, which has these rubber
shock absorbers.
Rubber shock absorbers, okay. Rubber shock absorbers that then attach to this other wooden piece, so that, as you can see here, it's got a little bit of spring in its step, so that instead of it being directly onto a piece of wood, we've got a little bit of movement so it can bounce around and like move a little bit more smoothly. And then if you look closely, let's see if we can focus that. On the bottom here, we've got a tripod screw, and that's the tripod screw that attaches to my gimbal. So this is the attachment for the bottom of my gimbal. So when I go and screw this on, I can make sure that it comes up nice and tight. And as you could probably imagine, a whole gimbal hanging off here and then a camera hanging off the bottom. Then we have a whole camera system that's mounted to these pulleys and mounted to a big track that can run up and down a hill. So I'm super stoked with how it's coming along. And hopefully, in the end, the shots will be worthwhile. So maybe in the next video, we can get cracking into doing some testing, and maybe we can take some videos with this gimbal and see what it's really capable of, and like maybe take it out somewhere and see what sort of shots we can get with bikes, because in the end, that's what it's for, taking super cool shots with bikes. So I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this series. Hopefully I want to keep this going a bit longer so that I can make more videos about the process to making this actually work, making it actually fly through the bush and get those super cool shots. So if you enjoyed this one, stick around because I think there's going to be another few coming along. And like I said again, check out Scott Bell Visuals. He's the inspiration for all this. Maybe check out some of the other videos on this channel, and hopefully you enjoyed this one. And my Instagram is up here. It's Ryan Gilchrist 73. And that's pretty much all I got to say. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time. Catch you later.